Hello, welcome to Main Street Sports. First off, like, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, share us with your friends, and we will jump right in because it is a juicy day going down, especially if you live in the state of Nebraska like us. But first, we need to obviously start with the biggest news of the day. Trent Bray getting fired from Oregon State. Kayla, you have thoughts?
No.
Oh, never mind. It was Trent Dilfer getting fired from UAB.
Oh yeah, that was the one that I knew we were going to build our show around
Yes.
tonight.
Good recruiting base down there in Alabama. They could, that's a G5 team if someone wants to go to. Okay, we're going to jump into Fred Franklin. Wow. James Franklin getting fired from Penn State. Loses his third straight yesterday, loses to Northwestern. Obviously, we all know the track record with him and top 10 teams, and this is supposed to be the year for Penn State. Drew Aller, Katron Allen, a lot of Singleton, all these guys coming back because they want to win a national title, and now they are 3-3 and not looking great. So Penn State dropped the hammer, and James Franklin is now $48 million richer, sitting on a beach in Florida.
Yeah, it's kind of goes back to the idea that, like our buddy Alex in Omaha at one point, he goes, the best gig on the planet is to be a fired head football coach.
Yep. I mean, what was it? John Gruden had his Fired Football Coaches of America group. So that is the best job in the world.
Oh yeah, man. Like, you can't. You talk about guaranteed money. Like, whew. Yeah. Crazy that this happened so fast.
Yeah.
You had to know like that the seat was starting to warm up, but you didn't realize that like there was a gallon of freaking gasoline on under the seat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this thing went from freaking like smoke to like because of the angst against like the whole losing to Oregon and all that stuff in overtime because of the big game narrative and all that,
Yeah.
and then you drop to 0-4 UCLA, and then obviously it goes from like a little smolder to got full on campfire, and now this just turned into huge, complete like freaking explosion. Like the thoughts though, it's like there was something that was on X today that was fairly. I don't know how much of it grasping at straws or like it was, but there was like when Aller got hurt, and you could kind of tell that like in the aftermath of this is where this kind of gets this picture painted. But when Aller got hurt, like apparently like nobody like super like rushed out to him, like very like it was a very slow process or whatever the case is, and then he walked off the field. Like he walked off. He was not carried off. It's just like no teammates around him, and he is the leader of that program from a player standpoint.
Yeah.
Like he's the face of the players. And like it was just like I guess the guy must have been a Penn State guy on X or whatever, but he was talking about how like this is a team that is clearly not a team. Like it isn't. They've all quit on each other. They've quit on the staff. The lack of emotion of any kind from Franklin's like dead stare on the sideline, and just like I know people are just kind of like, oh, he's in shock. Like that's a dude that was just like he
knew.
Yeah, like he knew. Like he definitely knew.
Crazy thing for me is like everyone wants to talk about the $48 million buyout, but Jim Knowles, the DC, he's got a 7-figure deal too, and he just came here this year.
Man, I don't know. I don't even want to know all the math that's going to be going on here. Like, I don't know. Maybe you salvage it. Maybe the new guy comes in and wants to keep Jim Knowles around.
Yeah, it would be smart. Jim Knowles is a hell of a defensive coordinator.
What if like I'm not going to get into who is who yet, but I'm just going to say like what if the next guy, whoever that may be, like when they're doing the whole vetting process and stuff, like that's one of the key points that they're like, look, we've got this contract and this contract, like we want to be able to not have to buy out and pay out all these freaking dudes on the way out the door. Like if there's like, can we use Jim Knowles on your staff? You know, like I'm sure they vet all that stuff. You know, like because money, although it's just money in major college football, there's still money that, you know, like if you don't have to spend it, don't spend it.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know.
Especially with rev share now, it's money.
Well, we talked about this like at length when talking about Dabo. You know, potentially, you know, like he's not going anywhere. And Urban Meyer Cowherd talking about that stuff. You know, about how like in the era of NIL and all this stuff, like people want to try to keep that money tied up rather than just wasting it on a firing. Yeah. You know, like they want it to be put to good use.
Like that's one of the things we celebrated in Nebraska was with, like, they paid Scott Frost lump sum, and I think it was last year was the first year that University of Nebraska wasn't paying any former fired football coaches, basketball coaches, athletic directors. And like finally had their books cleared of ex-coaches and athletic directors.
Unbelievable. I didn't know that.
Penn State's got to pay through 2031 for James Franklin. I wonder
how does that work? Because I know remember when Bo Pelini got fired?
Yeah.
The whole deal was like he couldn't take a job at a D1 program or something. Yeah. That's why he went to Youngstown State.
He could, but he would forfeit the money owed to him.
Okay, and so is that each individual contract that's made up that way, or is that standard?
Usually that's in every contract, but each contract's made differently. I mean, like that was one of the big things before Rhule came to Nebraska was that money that he was owed from the Carolina Panthers.
Right. So I was just curious. I'm like, well, what if James Franklin wants to go coach and freaking Wisconsin comes calling?
Yeah.
You know, when Fickles does. So then, how does that work on the buyout?
And that's one thing that's very interesting to me. I think James Franklin might take a year off, like the rest of this year and another year, just to get himself back.
Sure.
I mean, it's been a stressful 2 years for him, 3 years for him at Penn State. But
well, and you're always like, there's always the like taking a year off and 2 years off to kind of self-evaluate, self-reflect. Like that's always very valuable, especially as a coach.
Yeah.
So he's 53 years old.
I'm getting into a.
So he's not done. Like he's 53.
Yeah. But I could see him going into a broadcast, you know, like Dan Mullen did.
See,
for a year or two.
I keep hearing that, and maybe that's the case. Maybe he gets pulled on like by Fox or something,
But he would get the Fox contract plus his Penn State money that way.
Right. I mean, these coaches always seem to find a way to get into broadcasting, at least to give getting a pedigree coach like that, like as bad as James Franklin's been this year. I mean, and that's not always. It's probably not just him either.
Yeah.
You know, like. But having that stuff, that kind of expertise is invaluable to, like, could you imagine if James Franklin was, like, on our podcast for an episode?
Yeah.
Like, how much insight you would gain.
Yes.
And the same thing is true for major college football network, like in Fox. Like, look at having Chris Peterson is invaluable to Fox, the Fox team. You know, like, that's just the way it is. So, yeah. Yeah.
Chris Peterson, baby. You know what would be interesting, talking about James Franklin, is I get his record and everything, but I think personally he'd be a good fit at Virginia Tech. It's not a far move for him. He knows that area for recruiting.
Yeah. I don't think that's a bad move, but sounds like gosh, who were the I mean, I know I don't like to give Chip Patterson and Tom Fornelli a lot of clout, but they were talking on their show about who is likely the person that's going to be moving to Virginia Tech. Like I couldn't remember.
Garen's all in on Fran Brown.
It might be Fran. Maybe it was Fran Brown that I was thinking. Maybe Garen's the one that said that. I can't. I
Yeah.
mean, gosh, I listened to 14 million different things today.
Yeah.
So
Like it's interesting because we're doing this right now, but like, how bad do you want to have paid on right now? Because you know he's gonna have some. So
yeah, I'm. So, but he does this. He does his live, right?
yeah, so he's on right now as
Yeah.
we're doing
So
ours.
we can. I can. We can watch that as once we finish up. So
Yeah, and then obviously Joel Klatt does his on Sunday nights, and
yeah.
so I mean I know what I'm gonna be doing tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
I'll be curious. Like I'll just say this: I don't know who's gonna relate it. I only listen to DB on Fridays, right? Because obviously, if I need something from DB, I can text him. But I listen on Fridays because Sauter, who we're
Hmm.
very close with, and then RIP Matt Rhule was always Friday. But it might be a Monday listen tomorrow, or or DB might not be in studio tomorrow because he doesn't want to cover this topic.
Yeah, that's unavoidable.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't. So, well, I mean, if you're there, it's unavoidable.
yeah,
It's going to be an interesting deal because obviously, if some of those people, I mean, if you are watching this show, that means you watch college football,
yeah,
you understand what we're getting at right now. Like that segues into the idea of like, is Matt Rhule going to go back home to Penn State? Like that's ultimately what it comes down to,
yes,
and there's a lot of mixed emotions with it. There's a lot of people that are very, very anti. He's not going. There's people
yeah,
that are thinking it's a foregone conclusion that he
yep.
is going, and everywhere in between. Like,
Dude, and the biggest thing is that's from national media pundits all the way through the biggest Husker fans with rose-colored glasses going one way, and the
hmm
biggest Penn State fans on the other side saying absolutely not. Like this thing is all over the place.
yeah. And so, like, the point that I want to make about the fans on both sides of the aisle, like, you have to take emotion out of it.
Yes, and that's
So, like, when you start thinking and talking on emotion, like, you typically are not going to give very much of a, you're not going to give a great
no,
take on the deal. And that's
no,
a lot of people on both sides of the aisle right now are
yes,
doing that. Penn State and Nebraska.
yes,
So, like, Penn State's got to step back and be like, okay, they take the numbers and just say, oh, it's the same exact thing because Matt Rhule is so bad against top 25 teams and blah blah blah. Well, actually, you have to look at it through a different lens. I think I said
yeah,
this earlier in our text today. Is that when looking at Matt Rhule and comparing that to James Franklin did this in a window of like 8 years. How long?
yeah.
However long he's been at Penn State, 8 7 8 years or whatever.
Oh, longer than that even, I think.
Is it 8 10? I don't know how long
Yeah,
it's been. It's been forever. Okay, so that was his whole time has been at that one school.
yeah,
Matt Rhule is like never anywhere longer than 3 years.
yes.
And I think it's because he loves the idea of building a foundation to a place and then going on and moving to the next project.
Can I jump
Now,
in with something right here, real quick?
sure.
It's to add on to your point. So you're talking about the 3 year thing. Take a look at like Nebraska's roster right now. They have 75 freshmen and sophomores because he's
Right.
still building this team. Okay, that's all I wanted to add to your point.
Yeah, so like I guess like my point is like everybody wants to look at his record at being horrible against these ranked teams, but when you're taking dumpster fire jobs, you're not going to win ranked games in a 3 year window,
Yeah,
especially the first 2 years. Like
yeah,
that's not how it works, especially in the window that he gets compared in because it's pre transfer portal, pre NIL with the whole
yeah,
Baylor Temple thing, and one of them was freaking Temple.
yeah.
Like just people just need to back up and think about this for a second. Like that record against like, and it's too. They don't dissect it and peel back the layers of the onion to get to the
Right.
truth, and that's what bothers me the most. So like that's what personally makes me worried that Matt Rhule is a good candidate, and Kraft, the AD at Penn State, he understands those
Oh yeah,
things.
he
You
was
know,
with
the
them at
basic
Temple.
the basic fan that's on X posting under an anonymous freaking handle is going to go have emotional XYZ
Yeah,
rant and then just freaking, I mean, and the same thing for Husker fan. Like they're going to have this egregious take on the emotional side of it without stepping back and being like, well, wait a second. Nebraska's in a good place now too.
Yeah.
Like we can get a better coach compared to when it was 6, 7, 8 years
Yes.
ago, because the job dynamic in the sport itself has changed. Whether
Yeah.
people want to admit that or not, NIL does make a difference in this whole ordeal, and
Yeah.
Nebraska's sitting in a very good spot regards to
Well,
NIL.
and so obviously both of us could make arguments for either side of this. So, and we will. We'll get to that. I mean, like I said, this episode might turn more into Penn State, James Franklin than anything else. But one thing when you're talking about the money with Nebraska, we just talked about last year was the first year they had their books cleared, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Rhule's to take this job, which we did find out the buyouts, Rhule has to pay back $5 million, and secondly, you're not going into this with a major red line because you fired somebody. And when's the last time Nebraska's had a coaching search where they weren't having to deal with paying off somebody, where the checkbook's open right now?
That's a great point. I was gonna say that earlier. That's a fantastic point. Like the fact that this is different from the point of view that Nebraska's on the other side of trying to find a coach. It's
Yes,
not.
this is the
It's
first
not
time
coming.
since Frank Solich that we're not hiring because of a firing.
Yeah, this is off of resigning. So,
Yes.
or what would be.
Yes.
So I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Yeah.
So like that's the kind of thing that makes it be, an interesting dynamic, because when your books are open, your checkbook's open, like then who, like, I don't know, like, do we want to talk about potential replacements for Rhule? Like who are the top dudes?
Let's finish on Rhule to Penn State pro con, and then we'll see how much time we've spent, and then we can jump into that, because that as speaking in literal terms right now, Matt Rhule is still the head coach of Nebraska.
Yes. And here's the thing that I think is attractive to Penn State as well. Like we just talked about how you can't look at his numbers without peeling back those layers. Here's some things that he has put proof into the pudding. Like the whole like house rules thing and being associated with the Pat McAfee show and that kind of thing now, like that that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like that's coming into the socials and the space where college football's heading, especially in terms of being like your own entertainment type thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
and so it's attractive to kids.
Now.
Yeah, it's attractive to kids. Kids are sitting on their phones at every waking second of the day surfing freaking TikTok.
Yeah.
So like if you're a coach, and James Franklin doesn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
That dude is boring as it gets.
He sends one tweet a week out, and it's every Sunday, and it says 1-0. Let's get better this week.
Let's go 1-0.
Yes.
Like it's run its course. Like that's. I mean, geez.
And it's probably not even him sending that tweet out. It's some intern.
Yeah. Well, the parallels between James Franklin and Dabo Sweeney are uncanny.
Yes.
And so I feel like we just had these conversations regarding Dabo, and then we even said that after, like, James Franklin's kind of the same way. Like it's almost like do these coaches fit college football in the direction that college football's moving? Doesn't mean they're not great coaches.
Yes.
But it's like sometimes like if you're not going to evolve with the sport, then it's time to get out, and maybe you need to do it in a different avenue.
And I think the thing on Dabo that we hit on 3 weeks ago, whenever it happened, when they lost to Georgia Tech, the thing with Syracuse, sorry, is Dabo's whole situation is fixable. It's 100% fixable.
Mm-hmm.
Dabo has to change his beliefs.
Yeah.
And that's something where, like, I think we might see that, because I think Dabo's going to see what happened to James Franklin. He's going to see his own butt's on fire. And if he wants to keep that job, he's got to change. But the way he talks to media, he's with the whole I'll just go get a job somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're not willing to change, Dabo, you're not going to get a P4 job.
That's exactly right. And there's something about that same like that mentality. The whole like, well, I'll just get a job somewhere else. Like F you,
Yeah,
like that's kind of the same way. The same. It's not the same, but it's got the same energy to it that Bo Pelini
I was just
had
saying,
when it was
Bo Pelini.
about when it was like the whole like it's us versus Husker
Yep,
fans. It's
yep,
the team versus everybody else, including Husker fans. Like Husker fans are against us.
yep.
Like the whole defeatist type. Like I don't know. It's not defeatist, but like it's just like the. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of the word.
Yeah. No,
Desperate. It's like a
yeah,
desperate plea
desperation.
type thing. Desperation, like the one last go to be like, okay,
Yeah.
till it's
What's
over.
crazy about it, though, is like all the former players, Amir, Will Compton, Kenny Bell, um, all of them, Rex Burkhead's even mentioned, like, they all adapted that mentality that it was Nebraska against the world, and that's how they played the game.
Right. And there's something endearing to that type of mentality anyway,
Yes.
because then you're going to go out and just like you have that kind of like personal vendetta, I guess, essentially to try to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to Dabo or a James Franklin or whatever, like
Yes.
being able to prove somebody wrong also means like you have to know when the cards are stacked against you.
Yeah.
And so like these other schools like Kurt Signetti, they're playing by different rules.
Yeah.
And so like it's like playing poker against somebody that's getting an ace freaking in their hand every single and you have to freaking take a 7 deuce and try to
Yeah.
turn it into a winning hand. That's basically what Dabo's trying to do. And he's
Yeah.
trying to prove it. But he's failing every freaking time.
Yep.
And I think that James Franklin falls into that same category.
Yeah. And I think all of this goes back to what you said about Andy Kotelnicki.
Oh,
Dude, it's Kotelnicki is a great hire. Like he's a great offensive coordinator.
yeah.
But your offensive styles clashed with what he wanted, with what Kotelnicki wanted to do and what Franklin wanted to do. If Kotelnicki had Jalen Daniels at Penn State, I don't think we're talking about James Franklin getting fired right now.
Okay, so here's an interesting thought now that you said that. Was Kotelnicki a hire based off of James Franklin doing the vetting process, or was there other people saying we need to go to this style of offense, and James Franklin has now been like, was kind of trying to combat that?
Kind of the Wisconsin way.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
No, okay, okay.
you know what I mean? Like, Kotelnicki is freaking wants to run that kind of spread, you know,
Yeah,
basically what Kansas still does with Jalen
yeah,
Daniels, like it's not spread option, but it is, but it's not. It's like,
yeah,
like in any case, I guess my point is like when they went through an offensive coordinator change at Penn State and they hired Andy Kotelnicki, was it someone else telling James Franklin, you're hiring this guy
yeah.
because we want to change our dynamic offensively to be more explosive offense?
And to keep up with Ohio
But
State.
he was like, we're not getting rid of Drew Aller,
Yeah,
so like there's been this clashing of heads, like this
yeah,
kind of contrasting styles. Like Kotelnicki's been trying to make it work for 2 years, but
yeah.
it's not working, and it's like just kind of overplayed your hand if you're James Franklin
Yeah.
in terms of time.
Because it's like we talked about
Like
last week is James Franklin fired if Bo Perbula stays and Kotelnicki gets to run his offense with Perbula?
it's funny because I did a scoreboard show last night,
Thanks for the
and
invite.
it was not much. But anyway,
I was literally texting you all night.
but I had certain things I wanted to talk about by myself. And
Was not good enough for you.
it was specifically about Missouri. So it's funny you play this, you talk about this because I mentioned this. I'm cooling on Bo Prevula because after watching the totality of that game, how many people he missed wide open, like he was not going through progressions left and right, like zoning in on one guy, predetermining, like the same kind of stuff we used to kind of throw DR under the bus for, like, and now it's like, now I'm not so sure that, because, okay, maybe maybe you're right. Maybe in that offense, Bo Pribula, with his running ability and all that stuff, maybe that changes things. But in
Yeah.
terms of throwing the ball, I'm not
Missouri's
sure
got better receivers than Penn State.
that's arguable. I would say they don't blow the top off of anybody because they couldn't win on any one-on-ones against Bama. But we can get into that stuff later. But I don't know. Pribula's an interesting cat because he definitely would have played himself into a better position. Or he helps Kotelnicki's offense
Yeah.
from a running standpoint more than Aller. As determined as Aller is. I'm not going to give Aller. I'm not going to throw shade at Aller because when he takes off and runs, yes, he is slow as any quarterback I've ever seen run the ball, but he still runs determined and he falls forward and he's
He's faster than DR.
well, that's true. But he's not going to wow you. He doesn't jump off the page or whatever, either with rushing stats, but he does. He gets you 30 to 40 yards extra, and usually in key plays, So
Now, let me hit you with something interesting. We can talk about the Penn State hire if you want to jump into that. Obviously, the two names that are being thrown out are Cignetti and Rhule. The third name I've been seeing a lot is Drinkowitz. If Drinkowitz went back to Penn State and took Pribula with him, imagine that scenario.
that's an interesting move. I don't. It's because of the way that Missouri plays football, and the way that I just broke their team down. It feels like more of a Big Ten style of play than it does SEC to me.
Yeah.
The way they play, just watching on tape, watching their game against Bama, it feels more Big Ten-ish to me, and I could see that. I could see Drinkwitz potentially being the guy.
Yeah.
If he's the guy, I don't want him to be the guy because I think he's a really good coach.
Yeah.
And if he brings his D coordinator with him, I think that's a big issue because Missouri's run D, even though they didn't play fantastic against Alabama, but statistically over the last few years, the run defense at Missouri's been near the top of the conference.
Yeah.
So,
but
for what it's worth,
it's back to what we talked about earlier. There's a freaking mosquito. What we talked about earlier. Okay, so you bring in Drink, you keep the DC, Jim Knowles.
I don't think they would do that.
That's what I'm curious about. Is Drink
I
bring
think
his own staff?
I think Drinkwitz likes this dude that he hired from South Alabama.
Yeah.
The results speak for themselves. What they did last year under this guy, and
I just didn't know if going into the Big Ten, at least keeping a Big Ten guy in there.
Well, I mixed emotions about Jim Knowles. There's a lot of Ohio State fans that were glad to see him go.
Yeah.
If you read anything into the reactions on X or see
Was
any
this
of that
prior
stuff.
to Patricia coming in, or is this now that Patricia's come in and this defense is unreal?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of we told you so's from what I hear. So like I said, that's you got to consider sources on X, but you know what I mean. If that's any kind of sentiment that's not the minority, a major tiny minority, then there's probably some smoke to it.
Yeah.
So
That's all. So let's hit on that list now. Cignetti, I personally don't see Cignetti leaving. I think he'll be at Indiana three or four more years, if that, retire, go off into the sunset. He's already up there in age. I don't think he wants to do I don't think Penn State's necessarily a rebuild, but they have a shitload of seniors, so it's going to kind of turn into that.
yeah, it's what it would be is just being okay, taking how many kids with you.
Yeah.
But how many kids don't want to do that? Sometimes we talk about college football as just take the kids with you, and it's it's not that simple either.
Yeah.
They have a lot of different dynamics they have to think about too, because even though yes, they're playing college football and their dreams to play in the NFL and that kind of thing, but how many of these people are still actually serious about getting their degrees and
Yeah.
maybe like certain things at Indiana
Man.
fit better than Penn State,
And
and
it's
blah blah
one
blah
thing
blah
going
blah.
from a G5 to a P4, but going from a P4 to a P4 within the same conference,
Yeah, I mean, like, and there's family dynamics and stuff. Some of those kids, like, I mean, like, I don't know, like, some of those are more of a priority than others, and each kid is
yeah.
different, and like, so it's just like it's not that simple of just like we'll just bring all of Indiana with you.
Well, and you also did talk about this a couple weeks ago when you broke down Indiana with how old Indiana is. Most of these
Oh,
guys are seniors.
yeah, that's a very veteran offense or veteran roster. You know, like that's just the way it is, and but I think that's okay. In Signetti's way of recruiting the portal, he always uses it by the word of what? Production, right?
Yeah.
He's recruiting production. Well, you can't have much production if you don't have a lot of starts. Well, to have a lot of starts, you got to be in college a while. So then it's obviously you're going to be freaking
Yeah. Yeah.
an old roster, and like what 22, 23-year-old bodies are just going to be more physically ready than 19-year-old bodies.
Yeah.
19, 20-year-old bodies. Like
Or
that's
in the case of
just
their
the way it is.
25-year-old kicker.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like
I don't think Signetti's taking it.
it's
Basically.
it's not gonna be Signetti. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to entertain it too much because I would be shocked to see it
Yes.
be Signetti. He's already rolling at Indiana.
Yeah.
Just be Oregon in Eugene. Like what? Why do I need to start over now?
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm unless you feel like you can't get over the hump where you're currently at,
Yeah.
why go to a place like Penn State where it's like, well, geez, with what you did at Indiana, if you don't win 11 games right away, you know, like,
Well, and
you know,
it's what we talked about with Signetti a couple weeks ago when we were comparing him having success right away to Rhule.
hmm
He's at Indiana where there's no outside pressures. The boosters are letting him do whatever he wants. The administration, the fan base, like you go to Penn State, it's just like we talked about with Nebraska, where the expectations are night and day different than what it is at Indiana. I mean, we're
yeah,
talking Indiana. That win over Oregon yesterday was their first top 5 win on the road in school history. Or was it top 10 win? Top 5 or top 10 win in school history. They were 0-46 before that.
well, if it's top 10, it has to be top 5 too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's crazy stuff. Like, I mean, I remember at one time, like, this is kind of a side note. Like, I remember at one time I was used to track like all these wins for college football teams, you know, like through a certain era. I think it was since 2000 or whatever. I used to track like how many wins each program had each year, and I would add to it.
Yeah.
But it's been years since I've updated that. But for the longest time, you know, like prior to COVID, the programs at the bottom of the list, like 4 of them resided in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Indiana, Purdue, Rutgers, you know, like it
Yeah.
was like I can't remember which exactly. I know Indiana was one of them. Indiana is one of the P4's historically irrelevant programs in football
Yes.
history. You know, like and so he did this at a program that was literally like it didn't have a semblance of tradition whatsoever. Nothing. He's building the foundation to the football program. Like it literally had no foundation.
Yeah.
So,
No, last year
like,
was Indiana's first 11-win season in program history.
right. So I mean, it's just incredible what he's been able to do. I mean, for God's sake. So I think I ever would have been wearing an Indiana football shirt in my life.
Well, yeah, because you're a
No.
Ducks fan and lost a bet, maybe, but
No, I didn't. I probably should have, but we've been
so
on.
then we get
Me
to
and you
Matt
both.
Rhule.
Me and you both like Signetti. That's the reason
Yeah,
we
oh,
bought it.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely not getting a Penn State shirt if he freaking goes there.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about why Rhule would go to Penn State, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about why he doesn't. And that was the one text I sent you right before the show. Who's to say Penn State's going to even offer him the job?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
think
that's
he'll
always
definitely get an interview.
here's I think you're right. Like, I think that's a relevant question. I don't like. It's really just a matter of who, because I ultimately think like this move. You don't do this move like I said this earlier. The only program that's ever done this, it like after like firing a coach that has won a ton of games. I mean, throw this back 25 years ago or
Yeah.
22 years ago to Lincoln, Nebraska, when Frank Solich got fired and his only had 1 year where he didn't win. Well, two, I guess. He won 9 games 1 year, but he won 10 games or more in each season he was the head coach, and we
Hmm.
freaking fired him, right?
Yep.
And we did that based off of freaking emotion. It goes back to what we were saying. Like the AD at the time was basically playing off of the sentiments of fans and boosters being
Yes.
blah, 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 blah,
Yep.
because it's impossible to follow up Saban, or
Yep.
Osborne in this case. So we didn't have a plan. Nebraska didn't have a plan on where they were going. I think maybe some people thought that anybody, like, if you kind of go back through some of the history and some of the people doing
Yeah.
documentaries on this stuff, like, it really kind of came out that was like Steve Peterson and we, as in Nebraska, thought that like anybody should want to come here,
Yeah.
and without really thinking through it. Fast forward here, and I'm like, there's a lot of parallels with this, but I don't think that anybody's making that same mistake.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that Kraft, the AD, fired James Franklin without having already had all these back channel freaking conversations with
Yes.
people about hypotheticals and blah blah blah, and like I think the Northwestern loss just sped up the timeline. But
Yeah.
I think that there's been a guy that they've been looking at, you know, like the only way that they would just axe that whole deal behind back channels or backroom conversation is if like maybe Penn State had after losing to UCLA run the table or something,
Yeah.
but like you know what I'm saying? Like it's just one of those things like I just don't think that you make a move like this without just being like, okay, we have these three guys that we know we have the guy we want to take a chance on in
Yep.
terms of make him say no, which I
Yeah.
think is probably is Signetti.
Yep.
And then it's like the two dudes under that, they already probably have said like, yeah, we'll entertain it. Now
Yep.
the fact is that Matt Rhule? Is
Yep.
that Matt Campbell? Is that whoever, like some of those other names, Eli Drinkowitz?
Yep.
Like I don't know the answer to that, but it's worth talking about.
Yeah.
So
And then we talked about with Rule's ties to Nebraska, his wife opening up her
mm-hmm,
store in Lincoln. So she
mm-hmm,
has a business. It's very well known by Damon Benning talked about this on his show. His wife and kids don't want to leave, even if it is Penn State. They love it in Nebraska. They love the slower way of life. They love the Midwest hospitality. The daughters, they rule. Benning was talking about the daughters. They're at the age now where it's not like they were young and you can just pick them up and move them. They're middle school, going into high school here in a couple years. They got friends groups. They're in athletic programs. Danny Busboom Kelly's bringing them in to work out with the play, like hang out with the volleyball team. Like
yeah,
there
that's a
is,
big deal.
yes. And then you have Rule where, like Colin kind of hit on this earlier, is he hasn't made in Lincoln.
Yeah,
Where where going to Penn State, I think, is a whole different. It's the Scott Frost thing where you're going to the alma mater.
I have a
And
thought. I have a thought on this. Like Lincoln, Nebraska does feel like it's just such a family. It's such a family business type thing. Penn State to me does not feel like a fan. It feels like a corporate, like a
yes,
corporate job.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, and maybe Penn State people would be like, that's not true at all. But like, that's the way I view it. Penn State looks like a corporate gig that they're just like, what have you done for me now? Like, if you're not producing, get out. We're finding the next person who it is. I feel like Matt Rhule has that kind of like leash because of the way he portrays. Like, I don't know. He's not Grandpa. He's not like Mr. Rogers, like freaking
yeah,
Mike Riley. But there's a lot of freaking people in Lincoln and in Nebraska in general that love the respectful nature of
Yes.
Matt Rhule. Like a lot of people liked Mike Riley because he was very respectful in nature, even though that it was like
Yes.
didn't show results on the field. And so, like, I guess I'm comparing because if you were to take Signetti and plug him into Lincoln, Nebraska, there's a lot of
Yep.
fans that would be like, "Ugh, I
It'd be
hate
Bo
that
Pelini
guy."
2.0.
Yes,
Yep.
like Bo Pelini's arrogance and demeanor is what is basically the part of the reason why he got freaking canned.
Yep.
Like his antics on the sideline, like he wore out his welcome. Like Matt Rhule, that's never going to happen.
Yep. And this could go one of two ways. It depends on your personality. In Nebraska, you are the only show in town.
Yes.
Is he a guy that likes being the only show in town? Or is he someone who just wants to remain, just himself, be able to do what he wants? Where when you go to Penn State, you're competing with the Steelers, the Eagles, the Phillies, the Pirates, the 76ers, the Flyers. Like you're competing with all these professional teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the Penn State brand obviously lends itself to be, astronomically huge. That's
Yeah.
obviously, I know you're not saying that it's not, but like, I'm not sure exactly how to feel about is Penn State second? With what college football and the emotions that college football brings, like
Yeah.
a lot of fans, a lot of people love that emotion that comes
Yes.
with college football that you don't get with baseball, that you don't get with the NFL, because
Yeah.
the NFL you can lose 7 games and still win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like you have like part of what makes college football so great is because even with the playoff, like yeah, you can lose a game, you can lose maybe 2 games, obviously, and like you're still in the mix of it,
Yeah.
but you have fans on the edges that like they're enticed into the season all year
Yeah.
round, and like so like I don't know, when it comes to Nebraska, like if you can get through halfway through the season and be 5-1
Yeah.
every year, be 5-1, 6-0. Like I think if you were ever to be 3-3, 4-2, like that's when it starts to be like the season starts to be like,
Yeah.
oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. But like there's a lot of excitement about 5-1 right now.
Yeah.
And I think Matt Rule's going to feel that more and more with each week and each win. Because if you go through the schedule, I don't think there's really like I can't remember who we play next week.
Minnesota Friday.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so I think we're going to be 6-1. I think like then once you get into USC, UCLA, obviously with their upstart thing, like, then
Yeah.
it gets a little
Well,
dicey. But you're still
even
in a
after
good
that,
position.
you still have Northwestern before that USC game.
Yeah, so
You
like
could be 7-1 going into USC.
if you're 7-1 going into USC, like there's a lot of feel good, and the more feel good that's going on in Lincoln, the harder it's going to be for Matt Rhule to be like. It just makes it even harder to be like, okay,
Yeah.
now I'm seeing Lincoln on the side of things where there's actually like more excitement rather than just hype.
Yeah.
Like, and then it just kind of brings the totality of it together and like what Nebraska can actually offer, because I don't think anybody really knows in terms of recency that what Nebraska has to offer in terms of like halfway through the year.
Yeah.
So just
And
from a
the
you
one
always
thing
got the
is,
loyalty, but it's just
yeah.
it's different energy when you're good.
What's this do to the football team if Rhule doesn't get out in front of this tomorrow at the press conference?
I'm not sure I like that question, because I don't want to think about here's the thing. Garen said this on his emergency podcast today. He said
Garen also thinks that Rhule's out.
Yes, I know. I think that Rhule, like, but I did kind of agree with him on this. Like, Matt Rule's very good with like the coach speak.
Yeah.
The snake oil salesman or whatever they call that.
Yeah.
Like he's. I'm not trying to say that's a negative thing, but I think he's going to come out and say something anyway, because somebody's going to ask him the question.
Yeah.
Like it's unavoidable. So like he's like, whether you're rehearsing on what to say right now at freaking 9:30 at night the night before, he's gonna say something.
Yeah.
And it's probably gonna pay a lot of respect to the Penn State program.
Yes.
It's gonna
say James Franklin's a good guy. He was a great coach.
Yeah, and he's gonna be like, and there's a lot of people that don't know Penn State like I know Penn State, and all this type. Like
Yeah.
he's gonna give you a very, very detailed yet vague idea of like, if that makes
And
any sense. Like
we've
he's
seen
gonna,
Rule enough that I think me and you both can pretty much assume when he gets the question asked to him, his exact answer is going to be, "I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on Minnesota. I'm the Nebraska head coach right now, and that's the next game up."
yeah, I, I'm not like, okay, that's probably the answer he gives. It just drives me nuts that coaches give that answer. You know, like that's because that's like the idea of being like, I can't talk about anything in my life going on for 24 hours a day other than the next game up. Like, you can give your opinion on that. And you don't have to give your opinion on it where it doesn't have to be hot takey. You know, it doesn't have to be something astronomical. Just give an opinion. Just give your opinion. Pay homage to your Penn State, to your freaking
Yeah.
home school, whatever. I don't care, but you better say something, and it better be more than just freaking like. I'm not saying it better be, because I mean, ultimately, like, who cares? But like I'm hopeful that it's going to be more than just what you said.
Yeah.
So
Does an extension get announced this week from Dannon?
um. I think that if it does, that means that there's definitely been communication behind closed doors between Matt Rhule and Penn State.
Yeah, 100%.
So, which I mean, for all intents and purposes, like for what everybody's been saying, like we just said already, who's that guy? Tartley?
Yeah, I've never heard of him.
Me neither. That guy, like he was the first one to say it, and he thinks that this whole thing revolves around Matt Rhule, and so like if
Yeah,
that's the case, like they're probably already working on a contract. Dannon, you know,
yeah.
like
So that's why I'm
they
really
probably started
curious.
on that immediately when they heard the announcement.
That's why I'm very curious with what's going to happen with what Pate's going to say, because he has his connections at Penn State, but
Hmm.
he also has his connections with Nebraska and Will Compton, because Will knows what's going on.
Sure.
So that's where I think we'll get a little bit of information, a
How
little
does
bit.
what's the dynamic like? What's the dynamic? What if Nebraska had lost to Maryland and Cincinnati?
Yeah,
You know, like what's this? I mean, we don't have to go down that road, you know, but like, is that message? Is Matt Rule even consideration at that point? Like, if they were
no,
3-3, like no, you know, like so it's like I don't know. It's kind of crazy how this all works, but I think Matt Rule out of Penn State would be scary
yeah,
personally, because I think he understands where college football is going. Like I feel like I'm just gonna finish with that. So
yeah. And you texted me earlier, just a point blank question, and I know it got taken completely out of context, but I answered your point blank question. You said, "What would you give the percentage of Matt Rhule going to Penn State?" And then it went all over the place, but I said point blank, I say 60-40, 60% saying he stays at Nebraska, 40% leaving. So I
yeah,
ask you, what would you put the percentage at?
I think that like the reason why I like Matt Rule so much, like from a football standpoint, I'd be like, if he left, I'd be like, okay, because there's some things offensive, like from a football standpoint, there are some things I disagree with offensively that we do. And like, well,
Yeah.
if he was gone, then we could change those things, and maybe I'd get lucky, and I would finally like the offense that Nebraska runs. That's really not a factor at all. So the point of me that really enjoys Matt Rule is the reason why I think he stays, and it's because he's a family man.
Yeah.
Like all the reasons you just listed, like his daughters, like the connections his daughters have made with Danny Busboom Kelly, like, and then
Yeah.
all the other things with the schools that they're associated with, and
And
the
he
fact,
moved his parents to Nebraska.
yeah, and like his wife's business, like it just screams to me, like he's a Christian dude,
Yeah.
like, and I said this earlier, I said the only, like, moving to Penn State, the only thing that it benefits is literally self-centered dream, for lack of a better word. Because if it's
Yeah.
his dream, it's his dream school, but that's for him only, and
Yeah.
that's like that doesn't involve his family,
Yeah.
So like as a as a man in general, you have to weigh all those options as to
Yes.
being like, like I even went as far to be like, well, what if he hates the property taxes in Nebraska because it's fourth worst in the nation right now?
Yeah.
Like just stupid things like that because that are not football things.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of factors that, so like I actually think that, to answer your question, I know I went the scenic route here. To answer your question, because of who I believe Matt Rhule is as a person and a high character guy, I think that he stays. I think it's like, as I've thought through this through the day, like I think it's higher than 60% that he stays.
Yeah.
But I also do think, because financial stability is a big deal.
Yeah.
I know that all too well. So I don't think the contract matters as much at Penn State. I think it's going to be just like, okay, I want to stay in Lincoln, but let's just talk financials behind closed doors, blah, blah, blah. They're going to get the contract finalized, and I think that Nebraska is going to tie themselves to Matt Rhule for the long term. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yes.
Like, I think that Penn State's going to want to have gone to the Matt Rhule thing,
Yeah.
But I think Troy Dannon. I think Troy Dannon's doing a really good job.
Yes.
And so, like, I think that he's going to be like, I think Colin hit a good, like, the Nebraska money. Like, we're going to give him an offer that, like, he can't pass up. Like, Colin kind of alluded to that. And, like, I am tending to agree with that, with minus all the emotion.
Yeah. So, and then I think the one thing, we might be the only podcast in Nebraska that can say this. I think the one thing is, if Matt Rhule is to leave and take this job, I have no animosity. I completely understand it.
No, there'd be no hard feelings.
Yeah. Like,
it's just weird because it wouldn't be a firing.
Right.
Like there's animosity with coaches that get fired from here. Like that would not be the case with Matt Rhule. So
like, it took Matt Rhule becoming the coach of Nebraska for Scott Frost to step foot back in Lincoln.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like, no, so if he leaves, I'll be bummed, but I'm going to completely understand and wish him the best.
Yeah, that's probably the way it should be. So,
but we know the Nebraska fan base is going to send Bud Crawford after him to beat his ass.
Yeah.
So, you want to jump into some games? We don't have to do the whole slate that we covered.
Yeah, let's jump into some games. Who cares? I mean, if it goes a little longer than this episode, then people can watch it or listen to it in chunks this week. Who cares?
Alabama gets a 27-24 victory over Missouri. Missouri gets that late touchdown to cause a push. And then
what were our records first in this game this week? Did you track it?
What was our records this week?
Yeah, me and you.
You did not do well.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I'm guessing you're back in the lead.
Yeah, I went 7-5-1. You went 5-7-1.
Oh, it's not that bad.
No, I was so close. Freaking BYU Arizona went 2 overtimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so I already kind of gave my thoughts on Missouri, but like really the issue with them in that game was they don't have the passing attack to blow the doors off the top of a too high shell.
Yeah.
Like they could not separate, and a lot of the time, like it was just like the DBs from Washington won, and like that's a problem.
Alabama.
Well, yeah, what did I say?
Washington.
Oh, well, I was thinking DeBoer.
Yeah.
So,
or my hat.
Yeah, well, yes, but I'm thinking Kalen DeBoer. I'm like, that is a problem. If Kalen DeBoer is figuring this defensive side of the thing out, like, and it's not like he's been completely inept on having a defensive staff and all that stuff. But like, I'm saying if Bama is starting to figure this out, where they are getting better and better and better offensively or defensively, that's an issue. Because that they're only going to get better offensively. Yeah. Like he's a genius in passing attack. Like so.
What was it? second quarter, third quarter. It was second or third when Jam Miller got knocked out of the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that that
That
hampered Alabama's
hurts.
run game.
That hurts because he's your thumper, and I think the last name's Riley, the backup running back.
He's 240 pounds. He's bigger than Jam Miller.
No, not him.
Oh,
There's a small guy. I know who you're talking about. The guy that started for the Florida State game. Like that's not who I'm talking about. There's another guy that's kind of a little scat back, like a little change of pace. Like that dude's pretty good. But yeah, Missouri, like they're actually dogs next week to a team that I was kind of surprised that they would be dogs too.
so
So
who's Missouri got?
I can't remember. We don't have to worry about it now, but we'll just kind of keep that on the back burner. So let's move on.
All right. 2:30. Let's start with the Red River shootout. And like you called it, it ain't gonna be no shootout.
Oh my gosh, it was 6-3 forever.
Yeah.
You know, like and I said, what did I freaking say? And I think it came on a punt return.
Yeah.
But I said defensive touchdown, you know, and it just didn't happen for the Sooners. I'm kind of pissed because through our discussion, like I ended up picking Oklahoma when I knew that in my gut it was like Texas is going to win this. Like
Yeah.
obviously, the storylines for the season, like there's no way. There's no way that Texas is going to just start losing all these games even though that everybody wants to drop them off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Well, John Mateer didn't play very well. He threw 3 picks. And if
Yeah.
you know what, I listened to Joey Galloway for the first time in like actually paid attention to what he said. Yeah, I know.
Okay?
It's crazy. It's crazy. Joey Galloway was even sitting here saying like talking about John Mateer and how the issues with him throwing the ball today or yesterday was not about thumb and grip. Those were decision-making issues. He was
Yes.
throwing into double and triple coverage, and I'm like,
Yes.
and I just felt like I don't want to root against a guy. Like I want John Mateer to be successful. I do. What I root against is people's narratives that they create, just like Arch Manning. I don't want
Yeah.
Arch Manning to fail, but when you crown somebody the Heisman after no games played, and then after he sucks, you put the next guy up after one game played against Michigan and just say, "Well, he's the Heisman." You're like,
Yeah.
no, stop doing that. Like,
Yeah.
all you're doing is just putting up pressure, immense pressure on these people, and then like now he's trying to make these plays that he probably shouldn't make because it's not the smart play to make.
Yeah.
You know, like because he's got to be a hero. Everybody's got to be Vince Young. You know,
Yeah.
so like it's just insane to me. He's not. He wasn't the Heisman front runner in my opinion. I know our buddy Colin would be like, "You're an idiot." You know, like John Mateer's absolutely the Heisman front runner. Like that's what he said in the text. And bless you, Colin. But you know, like I just did not agree with that. And it came to fruition on Saturday that he is not the Heisman frontrunner. Like, there's plenty of great quarterback play to go around the country that you shouldn't
Well,
be crowning. You
yeah.
should not be crowning anyone.
Yeah.
You know, wait, just wait.
And so Texas gets that victory. The other 2:30 big game in the 2:30 window, Indiana going and getting a 30-20 win against Oregon. So I want to follow up with what you just said because now everyone's moved on from Mateer and it is Fernando Mendoza that is getting the Heisman talk.
Okay, so I have an interesting theory. You know how 2007 it was always like if you get ranked number 2, you're getting beat.
Yeah.
So 2025's version of 2007 is if you get crowned the Heisman prematurely, you're
Yeah.
going to have something bad happen to you. You know, like, or you're going to lose. So Fernando Mendoza in Indiana, guess what? I hope you don't have to freaking go into like UCLA or whoever you're playing and freaking get beat because they have UCLA on that schedule too, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, like how is that? That doesn't even make any sense that we just mentioned that. You have to mention UCLA as a potential like, after the start they had.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. So obviously, I found out something in this game. Kid from my hometown, no clue he was even at Indiana, dude. He was at Morningside 6 years ago playing soccer.
Jeez.
walked on to the football team at Morningside after 1 year, went to Nebraska. Nebraska kickoff specialist for 2 years. Goes to Georgia Southern when Scott Frost gets fired. Kickoff specialist for 1 year. Goes to Texas State. Kickoff specialist / played in 4 games. And took a medical red shirt or something. I can't remember what the exact article. Lo and behold, he's at Indiana this year and kicks a 58-yard field goal yesterday, right before half, for the Hoosiers. Brendan Franke, Gretna, Nebraska kid.
That's crazy, dude. When you said that, I was like, how would you not know that, with it being a Gretna boy? But
Because I thought he was done after Georgia Southern.
yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even know that guy played for Nebraska, but considering
He was
that would have been
Nebraska
around,
kickoff specialist for 2 years.
was that around COVID, based off how many schools?
Right after COVID for Scott
Okay.
Frost.
Yeah, okay. Wild
Yeah.
stuff.
So we get one Gretna kid gets hurt and is out, and we get another Gretna kid that's playing.
Yeah, so kind of my thoughts on this game, though. Indiana, Oregon, like obviously top 10 matchup.
Yeah.
Oregon was 41-1 in their last 42 games or something stupid like that. Like we said,
Yeah.
like it was like, I don't know, dude, but
Home
like
games, 41-1 in the last 42
home games, but like Oregon offensively, like during the Penn State game, I chalked it up to being Penn State in that environment. Like it's the dink and dunk. Like Oregon will be willing to take shots down the field. Obviously, they scored a touchdown on a big long play where they got.
Yeah, and that's when I texted you. It was like, "Good night, Indiana."
Yeah,
that dude was running wide open down the middle of the field.
Yeah, but like the offense, Oregon has been. They're leaning too much into. I don't know. I just these offenses that don't push the ball downfield at a high enough clip tend to struggle.
Yeah.
Like it's not sustainable, and that's the whole point of defense. Like this is the whole point of what Phil Parker does on defense is if you make the offense run the 6 million plays on a drive, what are the odds severely diminish being able to score? Like eventually the offense makes a mistake or a penalty happens or whatever. Usually a holding, the drive killer. Like that all that kind of stuff comes into play. And so I just thought, like, watching Oregon, like I wasn't really stoked about the game plan considering the weapons that they have. Like, they have a good offensive line, but man, I knew that. So everybody wanted to talk about the size difference of the Oregon line and the Indiana D line. Now, heading into the Iowa game with Indiana had the number 1 rush D.
Yeah.
And they largely did a very good, like, Iowa fans were pissed after that game. And that was the best offensive line in the country.
Yeah.
And they graded out, like, their worst grades they had in, like, a ton of games because of Indiana's D-line. Like, I should have been on that point leading into this game, but I bought the whole freaking size difference thing.
Yeah.
Like, Indiana's D-line is legit. Their defense is legit. And nobody wants to talk about it because they always want to talk about the offense and the RPOs and this and that and flashy and a lot of points. But their defense is freaking good, man. They are good.
Did Oregon's only touchdown on offense, was that on the long pass?
Yes.
Because they had the pick 6.
Yes.
Be 14 and the 2
field
field goals. Yeah. So they held Oregon to 1 offensive touchdown.
Yeah, dude. Like, I said, oh my gosh, it's kind of funny because like there's a local guy here in town. I coached his kid in wrestling and football, and like really good dude, farmer. Yeah, but he's kind of the one guy around here that I can talk kind of some college football with.
Yeah.
He knows what he's kind of talking about a little bit, and so
does his son go to Southwest Minnesota State?
No.
Okay,
no,
not
unfortunately not. Nope. No. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I made a bet. Yeah, I made a bet with him, kind of just off the cuff. Like after Indiana beat Illinois, I was like, guess what? because we always make these bets, and it's like during the College World Series a couple years ago, like I bet him that Oregon was going to beat Robert Morris or whatever, or whatever. Which one was that? Was it Robert Morris? Oral Roberts. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, Oral Roberts. Okay, and so he was like, no way. And so like we bet $20 here and there on these random sports things. Well, I told him,
Yeah.
I said Indiana's winning the national title. I put $20 on it. He was at our son's flag football game. And he's like, that's the easiest bet I'm ever going to take. And now I'm like, dude, their defense, this is not about them outscoring people. This is not about outscoring people. Like,
Yeah.
Indiana's defense is going to keep them in a lot of games. Like, people can call me crazy, but I said this 2 weeks ago after that Illinois game with him, and I'm saying it on October 12th. Like Indiana, they legitimately might win a national title. Like, it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy to say that. It's crazy. Like, I could see a game with them in Ohio State when they match up, because they will. That game might be like 10-6,
Yeah.
because I don't think
Legitimately.
I don't think Ohio State's offense is that good. Like, I don't think it's really that good.
Oh, I
It's
think
got
it's elite. I think it's so freaking good.
it's not that
Especially now
good.
that Sagan's opening it up. Granted, it's Minnesota and they just play. I can't remember. They just played somebody. Minnesota was last week, and then
They just played Illinois.
yes. So
Yeah, I'm not okay. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Ohio State doesn't have a national championship caliber offense. I'm just saying that that game will be competitive on both sides of the football for both teams.
yeah,
I guess is my point. Now, I think that Indiana would have a hell of a time scoring on Ohio State's defense, because Ohio State's defense is like all time right now.
yeah.
But I don't think that Ohio State's offense is good enough to make Indiana like be blown out of the water. Does that
Okay,
make sense? Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Now what?
Now we went to Florida, Texas A&M. Thought it
I,
might be closer.
I watched that whole game. I actually thought it was pretty good. It was a pretty good game.
Yeah, and
Did you watch it?
it was back and forth.
Okay, so
I
like
was
that
watching
was
a
my
lot of USC and
right.
Michigan.
So that was I had Florida Texas A&M on my main screen, because I was like, okay, I need to get a good look at Texas A&M, because I haven't gotten them enough. I haven't done enough service for them. I thought they played darn near elite status on offense for what they're capable of. Like, I think the Florida defense is still really good.
Yeah,
You know, like the Florida offense struggled here and there if they found some openings and all that kind of stuff. Dallas Wilson obviously changes the dynamic of that freaking offense in Florida, but I'm starting to buy a little stock in Texas A&M. I don't necessarily think they are going to be fantastic defensively yet, but I think they're moving into that conversation that's like, and I think they have it. I think that they have a manageable schedule moving forward comparatively to the rest of the SEC.
yeah,
And so like I think they're going to be that they may not be the best team in the SEC,
yeah.
but I think that their schedule sets up to be like they'll probably be playing for an SEC title unless they do the whole A&M thing and like it blows
Yeah.
up in their face like they have like
Like last year.
yeah, they only have 5 10-win seasons in their history. Is that right?
Yeah,
That seems so crazy to me. That's like no. I mean, when I heard that I was just like no way, but it's true. It's freaking true.
yeah. And then the game I was watching was USC put up 500 yards of offense on Michigan. Dude, they were running all over Michigan. And what they did, and it's what you texted last night, they ran away from Barham the whole game.
Dude, you put a guy on an edge, you take out one side of the field that he can impact.
Yep.
Like, so pick your poison, I guess, like I'm not saying playing him at the middle would be the answer to it's not going to change the dynamic. I think that, but like it kind of shows like what we talked about USC. Like when they get their run game going, they're really, really good.
Yeah.
And so like that was an issue obviously for Michigan. Michigan goes out. It was out in LA. Like, then you have the whole travel thing, the stupid thing that everybody wants to talk about, which I'm not necessarily all that bought into. But I know it does because there's some jet lag type stuff. But like, I don't know. I have not. Take it for what it's worth. Like, I have said I don't think that Michigan's that good. Like, I have been saying that repeatedly.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that Michigan's that good. I think their defense is pretty good, but everybody's like, yeah, they're really good because they played Oklahoma close. Well, and I didn't also think that Oklahoma was that good.
Yeah.
And look what happened to them. They lost to Texas, who's been beaten by Florida. So I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying we got to pump the brakes and kind of start dissecting these things. Like, Bryce Underwood's not that good of a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, everybody was like, he's the second coming of Jesus. Like,
both of us have been out on Underwood.
Right. So then the passing game struggles. Justice Haynes contained. Then what's Michigan going to do? What are they going to do offensively when your quarterback's struggling and you don't have a run game to pop off for 200 yards like you did in Lincoln? Yeah. Like, if Nebraska fits the run the way they should have all game, like we're 6-0 right now.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's why I ranked the way I ranked, because I still think that Nebraska is better than Michigan. I do.
Yeah.
Like, I know I asked you guys that, like, if they were to play tomorrow, would you think that we could beat Michigan? And you guys were all like, no. I was like, you guys are nuts. I think you guys are nuts, personally. But, I mean, everybody's got their own opinion. But I don't think highly of Oklahoma, don't think highly of Michigan, and haven't since the beginning of the season. So,
yeah. Then we'll find out. USC's got to come to Lincoln.
That's a scary one.
Yeah. Well,
I think
Washington
USC
goes to Michigan this week.
That's another one that's intriguing to me, because if Washington goes into Ann Arbor and wins that game, which they have their own struggle. Washington has their own struggles up front too.
Like I texted you yesterday, second half Washington's the top 15 team in the country. First half Washington.
Well, what we have to dissect, looking into that game, and not to get ahead of ourselves, but like looking into that game, you have to understand like the entire evaluation of the defense for Washington has to be like, how well do they stop the run?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that right now, but like, you have to commit to making Underwood hurt you throwing the ball, because he can't do that. He has not done it yet to anyone.
Nope.
So like, Washington probably should win the game. Like, I'm not gonna. There's some picks that I can't wait for Friday, because like, I've got some good ones.
Yeah. You want to throw our top 30 up?
Yeah, I do.
And we'll end on this Wednesday. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more talk on the whole Penn State front, but our new top 30 this week.
Got some newcomers in here. I had to upload some new images for the first time. So
top two remain the same with Ohio State and Miami, and I think those two teams have separated themselves. Indiana, Alabama, Texas A&M round out the top 5. Then Texas Tech, Ole Miss, who barely got by Washington State, 24-21.
Dude, head scratcher.
Yeah. Oregon, Georgia, LSU round out the top 10.
Okay, stop real quick before we go too far. Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin talked about this. He was worried about the early kickoff, of the 11 a.m. kickoff. And I started thinking about this with TV contracts. We could probably save this for Wednesday. But I want to get it out there so you remember. Maybe you want to, I don't know if you write this stuff down. He was nervous about the 11 a.m. kick. So once all these contracts were restructured, and the SEC is largely just on ESPN, that means their games all have to be spread out throughout the day. And they never used to kick off at 11.
Yeah.
All of the SEC got the benefit of being in 2:30 or 7 p.m. because they would still be on ESPN and CBS.
Yeah.
So they had 2 networks to work with. Now they only have 1.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like now you're having more SEC kickoffs at 11 o'clock, and then people are like Lane Kiffin, I think, alluded to that idea that like, oh, I was nervous about an 11 a.m. kickoff, almost as if they've never had to freaking do it.
Yeah.
So I'll digress for now.
So number 11, Notre Dame, followed by Georgia Tech, Tennessee, Missouri, Oklahoma. At 16, USC, followed by BYU, Utah. They play this week in the Holy War. And Virginia and Nebraska at number 20. 21, Vanderbilt, followed by Michigan, Cincinnati, Illinois, South Florida. And rounding out the top 30, we have Washington, Texas, Memphis, Iowa, and Navy. The old midshipmen just keep rowing.
Yep, they don't do it very pretty.
No.
But you know, when you are in the United States Naval Academy, you're going to be a gritty son of a gun, right? So
yeah.
That doesn't matter what kind of adversity you face. You're willing to face it head on and just freaking somehow find a way, unless you're named Notre Dame, right?
Yep.
Oh man.
So,
when Notre Dame's in front of you, it's hard to find a way. But
yeah. So we will round out our show. Obviously, there's probably going to be a lot more Wednesday with the Penn State, Nebraska, everything else going on. But give us a like, follow us, and subscribe, share, do everything, and we'll be back on Wednesday.
Thanks, guys. See you later.